All right. Welcome, everybody. This is our Fast Tracker call. This is Monday, July 8th, and we have a nice group on tonight, some seasoned reps and some newer people, and so I love that. We have a lot of wisdom on this call that we can all glean from and share. So we've been going over this book, Get Over Your Damn Self by Rami Newstead, and today we're going to talk about the fourth chapter, which is What's Your Story? Stories, here's the bottom line, and she even says it. Facts tell, but stories sell. Okay, and she says this, and we've heard it before. Humans act on emotion. That we don't just buy something and then, we don't rationalize ourselves into buying something. We buy something and we decide we want something, and then we start rationalizing why it was really a good idea. Okay, it's our emotions that take over, not our intellect necessarily for most people. So your story is your main selling point. And there are things that make a good story and things that can get in the way. And when we all start, we tend to want to just go on and on and on and on and tell every little detail about how we heard about it and what it's done for us. And I can always tell when I go around a room full of people and I ask them to share their stories. Some people will go on for 20 minutes, and you've certainly lost your audience there. So having a clear, concise, but motivating and curiosity-driving story is really important, and that's what you want to have ready. And your story's going to change. And I've been doing this 20 years, and I just rewrote my story tonight. So because this book is so focused on recruiting team, that's what we're going to talk more about tonight than sharing your product story. For most of us in the business, the product story is easy, especially if we've had some kind of great story like Caitlin, you were talking about, my husband doesn't eat vegetables, and this is an awesome way to get some into him. Perfect. So our product story is really easy, but a lot of us really struggle, especially when we're new, because we feel like, I'm not making six figures now. How can I share how great this business is when I'm still building? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, and that's what she talks about in here. So let me share a few things from the book, and then as usual, I'll put my Juice Plus spin on it. So facts tell, stories sell. That's the first thing. She said, a well-crafted story is fact wrapped in emotion. I love that. So you want it to be true, but you want to have a little emotional tug and hopefully something that whoever you're sharing your story with can relate to. So you have to tailor it a little bit to your audience. And the elements of your story matter. And her elements are very similar to, I'm going to share in a minute what's on our Freedom Revolution site under the starter guide and the little outline for how to share your story. Very similar. But here's what she says in the book. First of all, you're going to, it's a formula. Who you are, where you've been. Okay, what was life like? What's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more? Okay, where's that pain point? And it can be a serious pain, or it can be just like, hey, I need more money for shoes. Okay, how did you hear about this company and why you wanted to be a part of it? And what it's doing for you or going to do for you. So that's key. Okay, if you don't have a huge income yet, just the fact that this is hope for you. This is your ticket out of that pain, and that's what you're excited about, is enough to get people hooked. Don't feel like you have to have a lot of results. It says also we want short stories, 45 seconds to a minute tops. That's your initial story. Okay, who you are, where you've been, what happened to cause you to look for something more, how you heard about the company or Juice Plus, what it's doing for you or going to do for you. Okay, now here's what she does that I love, and it even made me go, ooh, okay, I need to work on mine a little bit, because she says there's certain things to leave out of your story. First thing, things that aren't essential to you. Okay, or aren't essential to the story. I don't need to tell who it was that shared it with me. That's really irrelevant. I can just say another mom. I don't have to tell that I was in this class, and which I often do, and then this mom came in at snack time, it's much longer. I can cut all that out of my short story. So little things like where you were and who it was that shared it with you, unless for some reason that's really important. You just say, hey, I heard about this, or someone shared it with me, or another mom. So you cut out all that extra fluff and get to the real heart. Second thing, I've been guilty of this too. Oh my gosh, we can all learn. She says you want to leave out any behavior that you don't want them to do. Remember that everything you say and do, you're teaching people how to do this business. So for instance, my business story was I started pretty much when I ordered. I just wanted to get a discount on my product. And that's all I did for like 5 years. I had a couple little customers, but for 5 years, I really didn't like create any kind of income. I don't want to share that part of my story, or I shouldn't share that part of my story with somebody for my short version, because I don't want them to do that. I want them to jump in and say, hey, I can do this right away. You don't have to wait 5 years to finally, get it, that there's some potential here, okay? So I need to leave that out of my story for sure. Now, it doesn't mean I have to lie and say that, oh my gosh, I raced to the top to NMD in 2 years, but I just don't have to mention that as part of my initial short story. Later on, I can say, wow, I sure wish we had had the bonuses we have now. I would have gone a lot faster and jumped in right away. But for my 45-second story, leave that out. The second thing she says is to leave out of your business story is your personal product testimonials. We don't want your business story and what this business and why you joined our company to be all about all of these wonderful things you've seen happen with your family, okay? You can just say, wow, when I saw the health benefits that we were getting, that's when I decided I really wanted to join this mission and share, okay? That's enough for your business story. If you're sharing your product story, you can go a little deeper if you think it's helpful. The other thing she says that you want to be sure and include are what she calls quantifiables, which she claims is a word she made up. She's pretty funny. She said, you want to paint the picture of how you're growing and what you're earning, although we never give numbers. In fact, that's against the direct selling code of ethics, is to tell people how much money you're making. But we can paint the picture of how we're growing and what we're earning through illustrating and explaining what the paycheck is allowing us to do over what time frame. And here's something else that I've learned recently about overinflating your story. Now, for most of us, you know, the little bit that this money, especially if you're new and you're making just a little bit of money, that little bit of money is helping with something. And that's really important to talk about. Like when I first started, it paid for my product. It allowed us all to be on Juice Plus, all 4 of us, because there was no children's health study back then. That was huge for me. That got us all on Juice Plus. And second thing that it did for me is it helped me, it paid for preschool. You know, that was only a couple $100s a month, but that made a difference. I didn't have to spend that money, save that on preschool, because we were a 1-income family at the time. So if you're just starting and you're just earning a little bit and it's already helped with something, then you want to share that quantifiable thing. It's already making my car payment. Now, if you're really new and you aren't doing that yet, then share what that first little goal is. You know, I'm working so that I'm really excited about this, because the first thing I want to do is I want my Juice Plus paycheck to be able to just cover my car payment. Or we're saving for a family trip to Disneyland and this money's going right into that pot. Something that little extra income is already helping or will help you to do. And make it quantifiable. It will pay for this. And she says, even if you're not in this for the money, and some people that get into our business honestly don't need the money, okay? That's not the motivator. She says, still mention it, because there are so many people out there that do need it. And it's wonderful if you have a great income and the money was not at all important to you, but $200 or $300 can make or break some families. And so you do want to bring up the fact that your check has paid for blank at the beginning, okay? Someone that's been in the business a while and they're earning a nice income, you know, I've learned I don't want to tell people what this income has done for me right away. I can start with what was at the beginning. You know, I can go on to, okay, 20 years later, here's what it's done. So you can paint that big picture if you have a big picture. But for most of us, you just want to say, this is, you know, think about what a couple of $100 could help in your budget, just to take the edge off of some of the bills or whatever. Okay, so she says make sure to have a quantifiable at the end of your story. And then she also says your story's going to evolve, and boy, is that true. You know, as your business grows, your paycheck grows, your why changes, that you tweak it. And we always need to go back to it and see. Even this product story will change as you see more benefits or different things happen as your kids grow. She says people are drawn to authenticity, so don't be afraid to share your real story, even before it's totally comfortable to do so. And she gives an example of a gal who, you know, she had kind of this very nice story about how this was going to create this income for her family. And they really said, you know, you need to be real about this. And so then she was able to share how her husband lost his job and had to take a new job that was half the income, and all their savings went out the door. And, you know, that was, for some people, admitting that is really hard, depending on, you know, the neighborhood you live in, to admit that, you know, our savings are gone. But to be vulnerable like that and say, this is what really I've been able to do with this, is create an income to build our savings back. I mean, that really gets you way more to the heart than just saying, well, we needed more income and this is really helping. So be real, be vulnerable, and people will respect that. Let's see, what other points can I make? She says, if you were one that got off to a very slow start, like me, but you've decided to ramp it up, go for authenticity. So here's what she says. Here's a couple of options for what you could say. For the last year, I've loved the wholesale discount and home-based business tax deductions, but I've treated this like a hobby. I'm surrounded by success stories of what can happen when you treat this like a business, and I'm ready to run. I'm looking for people to run with me. Do you think you might be one of them? Okay, so you're being real. Or, when I started, I really got my own way. I wasn't coachable. I let fear get the best of me. But I'm surrounded by success stories of what can happen when you are coachable and follow this simple, duplicatable business. And I'm not going to let fear keep me from reaching my goals. So if you were one that kind of started off slow, admit it and say, hey, but I'm not there anymore. She also says, adapt your story for your audience. So if you have kids, that's part of your reason for doing this. You want to stay at home with kids and you're talking to someone who doesn't have kids, then that might not be the point to really hit home with. So look at all those reasons you joined. Maybe it was the mission. You know, think about who you're talking to if you know some things about them. She talks a lot in this book about building your story library and using other people's stories. So, for instance, I was a stay-at-home mom. My story is going to resonate with stay-at-home moms. But for someone who is an athlete and isn't even married yet, that might be not why they want to, that's not going to be what they want to hear. We have to be a little careful, however, in sharing other people's stories. That's been a big thing with compliance in our company, and we have to be really cautious not to verbally take somebody else's story and share it. We can share videos with them sharing their own story. We can get people on a connection call with them and have that person share their story. Like, oh my gosh, I know another, personal trainer who's just loving this business. It's allowed her to pick and choose her hours. How about we set up a call because I think you can relate to her. Okay, so those are those three-way connection calls. That's a real good reason to do it. But to take somebody's story and really share it in its entirety when you're paraphrasing, we have to be real careful not to do that. I can say something like, there's a lot of personal trainers in our business who are really finding that this has given them options and a secondary income stream, okay? That's very general. But if I say, oh, I know my friend Lindsay, and she did this and this and this and this, and I share her whole story, can't be doing that, okay? Connect them to Lindsay if you're going to get that specific. So that's something we have to be careful about. And that's kind of what she has to share. So here's what I'm going to do. I want us to look at the Freedom Revolution site. This is, you're starting, this is the place to go. And when you get on here and you click Get Started, usually there's going to be something that comes up asking for a password. Since I've already been in recently, it didn't ask me again, but the password is the word revolution, all lowercase, okay? And if you haven't been here yet, this is where all of those great training calls are. And it's amazing, these follow the chapters we've been getting over in Get Over Your Damn Self. First chapter is about your why. Last week we talked about making a list. Look what's next, your product story. And then your business story. So there's a great training here, and there's 3 verbal, auditory examples of good business stories, although some of them are a couple minutes long, so they're a little long by her standards. But what I want to go to is this starter guide, okay, that you should download if you haven't already. And there's some great stuff here, but I'm going to go down to sharing your business story. And here is sort of the format that's very similar to what Rami talks about in her book. The pain, okay? What do you do now? What were you doing? Why do you love it? Or why did you enjoy what you were doing? But the problem was, okay, here's the pain point. And then they talk about a lesson. I realized that blank. And now we go to the opportunity. Then I found the Juice Plus company. My life changed in a great way. I got healthier and decided to build a business helping others get healthier too, and I'm having fun doing it. I love that blank. Now you don't have to have all of this in those exact words, but it gives you sort of a frame to work around. And here's the triumph. Now I'm celebrating blank. I love that I get to help others realize their dreams too. Would you like to take a look at what I do? Or maybe you know someone who would like to join me in this mission. Okay, so what I've decided is every week that we have this Fast Tracker call, I'm going to leave you with marching orders, something to go out and do. And this week, your marching orders is to download this form on the Freedom Revolution site and play around with it, come up with a 1 minute or less powerful business story, and share that with your sponsor. You can do it over Voxer, just have them listen and give you some feedback. So I did the homework too, and I've changed my business story a little. So let me just share. This is very rough. I don't have it all written out, but here's what I came up with, and I'm going to time myself here and see how long this is because I haven't done that. So I was a former teacher turned stay-at-home mom to my 2 little kiddos. And I absolutely loved being there for all their special moments and getting to choose mom care over daycare. The problem was money was really tight on one income. I realized that our plan of me going back to teaching, though, when my kids were old enough to be in school themselves, wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be home with them, and I knew after teaching for all those years before that all of my energy would go to other people's children and I'd have none left for my own. So when we discovered Juice Plus and saw the health benefits that our family was experiencing, I realized I had another option, that I was sharing this anyway, that this was a way that I could create income from home, working around my family schedule instead of working my family schedule around a job. And I would be able to create enough income that maybe I wouldn't have to go back to work. Now, 20 years later, I'm celebrating 20 years of being there with my kids and being there for my family. At first, my income just paid for preschool and groceries, and that was huge. But since it has grown to so much more, now allowing my husband to retire, and we can work on that travel bucket list. And I love helping other moms stay at home with their kids and realize their dreams too. So maybe this could be for you. Oh, I failed. It's 1 minute and 41 seconds. So I've got to pare it down a little bit, but that's my story. So I've got to work on it. So that's your marching orders this week. I would like you to work on your business story. Doesn't mean that has to be the first thing you share, although there are lots of times when you want to share that with people. That's going to intrigue them more than the health benefits in some cases. Okay, and those of you who are sponsors on this call, hold your people to that. I want to hear that they did that. So let me stop the share and we'll talk. All right. Anything you guys want to ask, comment, say about this, or anything else that's going on in your business? Okay, Julia, you're at it, girl.
All right, so I'm really glad that we're to this point because I've been holding off on my question knowing that the right chapter would present itself.
Okay.
So Romy, she actually says her name is Romy in the audio. Okay. No biggie. She says that she always starts with the business story first as a default. Mm-hmm. And then if they're not interested in the business, then she goes and backs it up to, well, what about the products? And then backs it up to, what about referrals? And I feel like thus far, and maybe it's just because of what I've mostly heard, I feel like we do it the opposite in Juice Plus. And I wanted to know what your thoughts are on her way versus what we have typically heard here.
That is the $1 million question. Okay. I will share my thoughts, and then I'd love Sue to weigh in, and Dawn, you can weigh in too, since you've both been in this business for a while. I think Juice Plus, the product, is very unique in that, and the company is unique in that our mission is so about helping people with their health. That is foremost in our minds. And I think unlike other companies that are so heavily focused on recruiting, we have come a long way. When I started, I was told, and we all were told, don't quote mix your drinks. Only talk about the product, get them on the products. When they become raving fans through all your great customer care and their benefits, then months down the road, you even mention the business. That's how we were all trained. The dial has shifted, but I don't think we're, as a company, and most of the older reps anyway, are way over to where we talk about the business first. Now, that doesn't mean it's wrong. Myself personally, I see where their pain is. If I know their pain is health, then that's where I'm going first. I'm going to, if I know they got kids that won't eat fruits and vegetables, I know that they've got a health problem, I'm going there first. But if I suspect that in any way their pain is more around finances, or they need a mission or something, then absolutely I'll go there first. Now, I will share a little story recently. I'm starting to go to a boot camp with a lot of young moms because I'm trying to meet young moms. And I coach with Karen Weaver, who is like several levels above Mitra. And she asked me, what do you say when people in this class get around to asking you what you do? And I shared my, product story basically, or what I kind of say, and it changes all the time. And she said, wait a minute, this says we're recording.